Hello everyone and welcome to the online course on object-oriented programming. Today we will see the polymorphism in C++. So these are our lecture objectives. First of all, we will see polymorphism in general, meaning of polymorphism in general, then polymorphism in C++, then types of polymorphisms and examples. Now, what is the meaning of polymorphism in general? So this polymorphism word is derived from two Greek words. One is poly and other is morphs. The meaning of poly is many forms, that is many, okay, and morphs means forms. So the meaning of polymorphism is many forms, okay. So the process of representing one form in multiple forms is known as polymorphism. Here one form represents original form or original method, always resides in the base class, and multiple forms represents the overridden method which resides in the derived class. So for example, suppose you have a function called something like say something. Say is the function, okay. So if this say function is applied to a human, so he will, suppose he is speaking, now speak, okay. If the same function is applied to a dog, then he may bark or say woof. Then if it is applied to duck, then he will say quack. And if it is applied to a cat, it will say meow. So you can see this one function uh, existing in many forms. One different form for human, different form for a dog, different form for a duck, and different form for a cat. So this is the general meaning of polymorphism. So similarly, suppose you are in a hotel, you behave like a customer. Okay, you will sit properly, you will not create disturbances. But similarly, suppose you are in a college, you behave like a student. Okay, and in hospital you behave differently. So depending on the place you are there, you behave as per the requirement of that place. So that is many forms of you. So at home you will behave differently, at college you will behave differently. So that is polymorphism in general. So what is the meaning of polymorphism in C++? So you have various functions to perform different tasks, right? So you have one function. Suppose let us say you have a function called as add, right? So this function is performing number of tasks, task 1, task 2, task n. Suppose this add function without any parameters may perform one task. Then maybe if you are passing one integer, then it will perform some task, right? So for example, I am writing over here this one add function may simply add user entered values. Suppose you can take value from here, that is cout. You are asking user to enter the values over here. So the user will enter the two values to add, suppose a and b, and you are summing up these two values over here, suppose. So this is the one task the add function can perform. Similarly, you can have different add function, but the function name will remain same. So suppose one integer is passed, right? and it is adding to one already existing number. That is, suppose a number is already there in the program, but you are simply doing a plus n. This can be another task. Then you may have two values which are provided by the from the main function, that is integer a, integer b, and then you can sum equals to a plus b. So depending on the need of the program, you can have multiple tasks. So this add function is existing in the program with different forms to perform different tasks. Okay, so this is polymorphism in C++ for function. This is called as function overloading. Mean you are assigning multiple meanings to a function. This is called as function overloading. Similar to the constructor overloading, where you can have default constructor, then parameterized constructor and copy constructor with the same name, that is a class. Similarly, you have different types of operators, plus arithmetic operators, right? So plus, minus, star, that is addition, subtraction and multiplication, division, etc. So you can overload these operators as well. Okay, so suppose this plus operator is used to add two integer values, two variables or two strings. Similarly, you can overload this plus operators so that it will add two objects. Okay, so this is the concept of polymorphism in C++. Now, what are the types of polymorphism? Mainly, the polymorphism is divided into two types. One is compile time polymorphism, which is also called as static polymorphism or static binding or early binding. Similarly, the second type is the run type. So it is also called as dynamic binding or late binding. So this polymorphism can be static or dynamic. So in static polymorphism, memory will be allocated at the compile time. So whenever you are writing your program, okay, so whenever the program gets compiled, the memory will be allocated at that time. In dynamic polymorphism, memory will be allocated at the runtime, means after running your program. Both function overloading and operator overloading are an examples of static polymorphism. Means in both function overloading as well as operator overloading, memory is allocated at the compile time. Whereas the virtual function is an example of dynamic polymorphism. So these are the two types of polymorphisms, compile time, runtime. So in this video lecture, we will see function overloading and operator overloading. So let us quickly see a program for function overloading. So you can see that there is one function which will perform two tasks, for example. So first of all, I have included the required header files. I have stream.h, con.io.h. Then I have declared and defined the class called as addition. Then in public section, I have declared and defined a function, that is sum, okay, which is accepting two arguments, integer a and integer b, and directly it is displaying the addition by a plus b. Okay, similarly you have another function with the same name, because function overloading will work only if the function name is same. Otherwise, it will be treated as a different function. Okay, so the name must be same, but it will have different parameters, different number of parameters. So you can see in the first function we have two parameters, integer a and integer b. In the second sum function we have three parameters, integer a and integer b and integer c. So if you provide two values while calling the function, you will this function will be executed. If you provide three values while calling, it will call this function. Okay, and it will display the summation of the values provided. Similarly, this class is ended over here. Then void main function, clear screen. Then obj is the object of class addition. Then obj.sum, since it is in the class scope and not a friend function, you have to call it using obj.sum. Now in the first call you have provided two values 10, 20, so it will call this function. Now cout ended, it is similar to cout /n. Okay, so in the second call obj.sum 10, 20, 30, it will call this function because three values are provided now. So depending on the parameters passed in calling that function, the corresponding function will get executed. Now we will move on to operator overloading. So operator overloading is an important concept in C++. It is a type of polymorphism in which an operator is overloaded to give user defined meaning to it. Okay. So overloaded operator is used to perform operation on user defined data type. So which is the user defined data type? That is your object. Okay. The meaning of operators are already defined and fixed in C++ language. For example, if you want to add two integers, then plus operator is used. Okay. So, but for user defined types like objects, you can define the meaning of operators. That is, you can redefine the way that operator works. So for normal, you can see that integer a comma b comma sum is there. So normal meaning is you are adding two variables a and b of integer type. How this redefined way can be used? So you have suppose three objects of a matrix class m1, m2 and sum. So if you perform an addition like sum is equals to m1 plus m2, it will directly add two matrices. That is, if you have 1, 1 and 1, 1 as first matrix, if you have 2, 2, 2, 2 as second matrix, that is m2, and if you run m1 plus m2, it will add these two matrices and it will display 3, 3, 3, 3. So likewise, this is the redefined way for plus operator. Similarly, you can multiply matrices with star, that is multiplication. The normal way would be multiply two variables a star b. Okay, redefined way would be m1 multiplied by m2. So you can multiply two matrices using operator overloading also. Now there are some rules for operator overloading to be done. So you can only overload the existing operators. Okay, we cannot create our own operator for overloading. The overloaded operator must have at least one operand of user defined type. So operand means on which it is working. That is, for example, M1 plus M2. So this means this M1 is the one operand and M2 is the second operand on which it is operating. So overloaded operators follow the syntax rules of original operators. This means we cannot change the basic meaning of an operator. That is, the plus sign will perform addition only. You cannot change its basic meaning, right? So some operators cannot be overloaded. They are member access operators, that is dot, pointer to member access, dot star, scope resolution operator, size of, ternary operator, right? Likewise, this you cannot overload. So these rules you have to remember. Then we cannot use friend function to overload some operators. There are assignment operators, function call operator, subscripting operator, class member access operator. Okay. So if the operator function is a friend function, then it will have one argument for unary operator and two arguments for the binary operator. If the operator function is non-static member function, then it will have no arguments for unary operator and one argument for binary operator. So first of all, let us understand the meaning of this unary operator. Unary operator means when the operand is only one, that is minus. Minus is the unary operator, because if you do like minus I, suppose a is some variable. Okay, so suppose you have declared like integer a and you do like minus a equals to minus a, right? So this minus is taking only one variable, one operand. So that's why this minus is called as unary operator. Okay, and what is binary operator? So whenever you are writing like sum equals to a plus b, so means these binary operator require two variables, one at the left and one at the right. Okay, so that's why it is called as a binary operator, whereas minus sign is just to reverse its existing sign. So this minus is called as unary operator. Okay, so this minus sign is also binary. That is, if you write like sum a minus b, so this will use for subtraction operation. This minus is unary as well as binary depending on the operands passed. Okay, when binary operators are overloaded through member function, the left hand operand must be an object of the relevant class. Okay. Then binary arithmetic operators such as plus, star, division must explicitly return a value. So these are the rules which you have to follow and remember while doing programs on operator overloading. So let us quickly see the program to overload unary minus. So this is the program for sign reversal, means if the existing value is positive, it will change it to negative, and if the existing value is negative, then it will change it to positive. So the necessary header files are included. Then a class example is created. Two integers in private section are created, integer a comma b. Then in public section, one function is defined, void get data, to get the values of a and b. Now let us focus on the syntax. It is very similar to your function definition syntax. That is return type void. Now operator minus. Okay. So this operator minus is the function name, for example, and then two parentheses. So you can pass values in it also. Okay. The syntax is very similar to function definition syntax. So here void operator minus, and in round brackets no parameter is passed. So operator function as a member function. Okay. So a is equals to minus a, b is equals to minus b. So suppose you enter a is equals to 10 and b is equals to minus 10, minus 20, let us say. So if you call this function, so your a will change to minus 10 and b will change to 20, that is plus 20. So this is the function or task given to this operator minus function. Okay. Now this void display function will display the values of a and b. Okay. So one here, one this is missing over here. You can add curly brace and followed by a semicolon, which completes this class. Then void main example e. So e is object of example class. E dot get data. So inside this e object, you will suppose get a is equals to 10 and b is equals to minus 10, minus 20. Okay. So before overloading, it will display e dot display. So it will display the same values which you have provided. And how to call this? It is simply minus e. E is the object name. So this minus e will call this operator function. Okay. So this e will be passed to just minus operator function and the values will be reversed. Now after executing this, your a will change to minus 10 and b will be changed to plus 20, and finally you are displaying it e dot display, right? So we have to remember how to call this unary minus function, that is just by minus object name minus e. Okay, this is the program to overload unary operator minus. Now this is the program to overload binary operator plus. So you can see this is hash include iostream.h, hash include conio.h, required error files. Now in this program, the addition is done. That is, this is the program to overload binary operator for matrix addition. Okay. Now for this, class matrix is created and float a, that is a two-dimensional matrix a3 of 3, okay, and ij. So these two variables are taken just to use in for loop. In the public section, two functions, one get data function is there to get the matrix. Okay. So since it is a two-dimensional matrix, so it will be in the form of a table just like this. So this is I and this one is j. Okay. So for I is equals to 0, so you may like I 0 1 2, j 0 1 2. Okay. So I is equals to 0, I is less than 3, it will check I plus plus. For j equals to 0, j less than 3, j plus plus. C in A of ij. So it will ask you column wise, there may be 1 1 1 2 2 2, you can enter as you want. Okay. So this A of ij matrix you will get. Now similar to the minus operator, matrix operator plus, so it will return the matrix as it was mentioned in the rule. You have to return something, so you are returning basically the object after addition. Okay, so matrix operator plus, and you are passing one object, that is matrix M. Okay, so I have created one more temp object to store the addition of matrix. Okay, so again for I is equals to same loop. So temp A of ij is equals to A of ij plus M dot A of ij, and then this will perform the addition element by element, and it will get stored in the temp object, and finally you have to return that temp object. Similar to get data, you have a show data function. Okay, so you are just displaying the value of ij. In void main function, you have created three objects m1, m2, and sum of matrix class. Okay, then m1 dot get data. So you have one matrix, one 3 by 3 matrix in m1 object. Similarly, m2 dot get data, you have one A of ij matrix in m2 class, m2 object. Okay, and then you want to perform its sum. Okay, so for operator overloading, this is the syntax, this is the call procedure, that is sum equals to m1 plus m2. And remember, this sum must be an object because m1 m2 are objects, so you have to collect it in an object because you are returning temp as an object. Okay, so it will return because there are multiple values. This matrix will contain 9 values, so you can only return one value or you can return only one object. Okay, so that's why this temp is returned, and which gets collected into sum, right? So let us understand the working of this. So this m1 plus m2, so this one more way to write this sum is equals to m1 m2 is sum is equals to m1 dot operator plus, and then in this you are passing m2. Okay, earlier also you have done something like this. So this m1 will be used as, for m1 will be used to call this operator plus function, and m2 will be passed. Okay, so in this case this m2 will be passed in m, right? So it will be copied in m object, and that's why you can see A of ij refers to this m1, the calling object, right? So and m2 is passed to m, and this here I have used m dot A of I because this m2 object is gone as it is copied in m object. So that's why in operator function you have to use m dot A of I. So what it will basically do, suppose this is your m1 object. Suppose you write 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1, and suppose this is m1, you write m inside m2 or m is equals to m2 because you are copying it. Suppose you write 2 2 2 2 2 2 and 2 2 2. So the result will be, it will add to a temporary object. So one temporary object you have created in that function. You can see for I is equals to 0, j equals to 0, it will add element by element. Because 0 0 means this value, so 1 plus 2, so it will be written over here. Okay, so j will change to 1 now, so this plus this, so you will write 3. So in this way it will perform the addition and it will store in the temporary object. Now you have 9 values in temporary object and you are returning this temp object. So this complete object will be thrown or returned to here. So this means the sum object will be equal to your temp object. Content will be copied because you are passing by value and not reference. So ultimately m1.showData, m2.showData, right? This will display the contents of m1 and m2 objects which was provided by the user. Then sum.showData will display the content of sum object, okay, which was returned by the temporary object. And in this way this binary operator overloading works. So I hope you have understood this part. If you have any queries, you can comment. Okay, so have a good day and happy learning.